Hey, good morning. My name is Landon. Welcome to Timber and Truth, and I wanted to talk with you briefly this morning about a perspective on dealing with the sin in our lives. And I'm reminded of an old motorcycle safety training class I took many years ago, where you had to weave back and forth in between these really tightly spaced traffic cones, and the instructor was explaining, don't look at the cone, you actually stare at the space in between the cone, because your bike is naturally going to want to go wherever your eye is focused. And if you're staring at that cone that you want to avoid hitting, you're likely actually going to run right into hitting it. So I think that's a good analogy in how we approach dealing with sin in our life. If you've got a sinful habit or addiction or behavior that you've struggled with getting rid of out of your life, if you're focusing on the thing that you're trying to avoid, you're likely going to keep running right into it. Because if you want to white knuckle grip it and under your own strength, just focus on don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, that works for a while. You can be successful, but eventually your strength gives out, you fall back into the old habit, and it's just this exhausting cycle. Instead, let us put our focus and our eyes and our attention on Christ. We dig into the Word, we spend time in prayer, and we focus our attention on Jesus. And as you draw deeper and closer to your relationship with Christ, you're naturally just going to distance yourself from the desire to engage in that old behavior that got you so tied up for so long. The more you wake up every day and tighten your grip on the foot of the cross, the more the sin in your life is going to loosen its grip on you and fall away. If you want to expose these deeds of darkness in your life, you draw closer to the light, which is Jesus Christ, and you can experience what it talks about in that old hymnal. And the things of this world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Now, Paul Washer talks about this kind of sanctification cycle, how you grow in maturity in your faith through, first of all, a knowledge and an understanding of God's nature, his holiness. And when you deepen your knowledge and understanding of just how holy and incredible and set apart and other God is, you have a deeper understanding of the gap between God and you. You understand more about your own sin and your own depravity. Then you understand how large that gap is, and you're grateful for the grace that you've received through Christ. And then you want to live in a way that is in accordance with the grace that you've received. So that cycle continues. I study the Word, I deepen my knowledge and understanding of how God is. I have a higher view of God. I have a lower view of myself because I understand more of the depravity of my sin. I understand how the widening gap between myself and God. I'm grateful for the grace that I've received, and then I live accordingly. And I wanted to read to you here, Romans chapter 2, verse 4 says, "Or do you show contempt for the riches of his kindness, forbearance, and patience, not realizing that God's kindness is intended to lead you to repentance?" There is nothing that is going to change your life like focusing on the mercy and the grace and the kindness that you've received from God. When you really start to let that sink in and get it, you're naturally just going to want to change. It's not going to fulfill you to abuse the grace that you've abused before. You're going to ultimately say, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to live like that because the grace that I've received is so good. I don't want to abuse it anymore. So put your eyes on Christ, understand the grace that you've received, and walk in a newness of life. All right. Hope you guys have a blessed week. Maranatha, and stay salty.